Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine, and I have a super delicious recipe to share with you today, and it includes one secret ingredient. We're making carrot cake, and the first thing we want to do is preheat our oven to 350 degrees and grease a 9-inch square dish, or you can double the recipe and make it in a larger dish if you'd like. I'm using canola oil for greasing my dish, and next I want to work on the dry ingredients. I'm going to use a smaller bowl for this, and I'm adding 1 1/4 cups of flour. I'm going to sift that into my bowl. This recipe is going to be dairy free for the cake itself, but there is dairy in the frosting. Next, we're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, as well as 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. If you end up using butter instead of oil, then you can skip adding salt. I'm adding a 1/2 teaspoon of salt because we are going to be using canola oil. I also have 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Going to sift that in, and I'm going to add about 1/4 of this nutmeg. I'm going to freshly grate it. You can also use ground nutmeg as well. It is a very strong spice, so add as much as you would like. We added about 1/3 in the end of the whole nutmeg. And then we're going to add some ginger. You can certainly use powdered ginger, but I had some fresh ginger, and so I went ahead and I grated that in. Now I'm making this for my daughter, and she didn't want too much ginger. You can barely even taste it, so if I was making this just for me, I would definitely add more ginger. Now it's time to mix all of these ingredients together. The ginger is a wet ingredient, but I went ahead and I added it to the flour. Next, I'm going to add about 1/3 cup of oil. This is canola oil, but you can use avocado oil, and 2 eggs. If you want to make this entirely vegan, then you can use an egg substitute instead. Next, we're going to add about 1/2 cup of sugar, as well as 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Now, this made this lightly sweet, and so if you want it a little bit more sweet, I recommend adding more sugar, or just make it a really sweet frosting. I also added 1 teaspoon of vanilla, but I'd probably add more just because I like that flavor, and it is such a nice balance with the spiciness of the cinnamon and the ginger and the nutmeg. Next, we want to do our carrots, and we need about 1 1/2 cups of grated carrots. So I'm using my grater to do this. It adds a lot of moisture to the cake as well, and that's why I added a little bit more flour than what the original recipe called for. We're going to add our carrots to our wet ingredients. Make sure that they are well incorporated. You don't want to let this sit for too long once you are mixing this together and preparing it. Here's the secret ingredient. We're going to add about 1/4 cup of finely diced pineapple. Now, when I originally did this, I just threw those pineapples in with the carrots when I was grating it, and I actually liked that better because we didn't end up with any chunks of pineapple, but it added a moistness and a sweetness to the carrot cake. When I added these chunks, we ended up having those chunks in the end, and my children really didn't like it. I'm adding 1/4 cup of pecans, but you could add walnuts as well, in addition to or instead of the pecans. I'm going to mix this all together. You just want it well incorporated enough so that you can begin to add your dry ingredients to this. Once this is thoroughly mixed, I'm going to be adding my flour a little bit at a time. You don't want to over mix this, so we're just going to fold those wet ingredients over those dry ingredients until it is mixed enough. I'm adding my dry ingredients in about 3 different portions, just so it can slowly absorb some of that liquid. Now, the first time we made this with our pineapple, it was a lot softer of a batter, and it did take longer to bake. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes to bake, but you do need to pay attention to it. We do have a convection oven, and we set it to 350 degrees, and I thought it would only take 30 minutes, but it actually took a little bit longer. While the carrot cake is baking, we're going to work on our cream cheese frosting. We're going to start with 1 stick of butter and 8 ounces of cream cheese. I'm using the whipped cream cheese, but if you want to use a block of cream cheese, just make sure it comes to room temperature, or you allow a little extra time to really mix it and get it incorporated. we're adding that softened butter to our cream cheese. It was a little bit too softened. I put it in the microwave for about 25 seconds. Next, we want to start blending this together. Now, as this blends, we're going to add our powdered sugar. And I realized that I didn't have quite enough powdered sugar, so I took regular sugar, put it in the NutriBullet, and made our own powdered sugar. Every once in a while, you do need to scrape down those edges. And once our butter and cream cheese mixture is well incorporated, it's time to add the powdered sugar. You want to add this about 1 cup at a time. Really give it enough time to get incorporated. You want to be mindful that that powdered sugar doesn't come up. It's really powdery. You don't want to inhale a lot of that. So you want to be mindful of putting it in slowly and stepping back a little bit. You can make your cream cheese frosting as sweet as you want it to be. Now, I didn't want it too sweet, but I realized that you actually need to add quite a bit of powdered sugar to this, as well as a teaspoon of vanilla. I added a little bit more because I wanted that flavor. But when I tried to add less sugar, it actually ended up tasting too much like cream cheese. So you do need quite a bit of sugar. So we're going to check on our carrot cake, and it's not quite done yet, so I put it in the oven for a little bit longer, really paying attention every 5 minutes or so, checking it out and making sure that it's completely done. You should use a fresh fork for this. It's not going to work. And so after about 40-ish minutes, I'm thinking it's getting pretty close to being done. And it took almost the full 45 minutes. So do pay attention to it. I'm so excited. It's done now. We're going to take it out. You can still see those pineapple pieces. And so if you don't like the pineapple, warm pineapple, or pineapple in general, I recommend either omitting that from the recipe or adding it to your grater when you are doing your carrots. So we're going to cut this up into pieces, and you can kind of see there some of that pineapple is still showing. Some of it has been picked out so that my children can have a pineapple-free slice. Once it cools down enough, you can add your cream cheese frosting. This turned out really delicious. It's so easy to make a cream cheese frosting. It just takes a little bit of time. So I'm going to coat that. We did this individual slices. We didn't do the whole thing. And then we added some nuts, pecans or walnuts. It tasted so delicious. I had no idea how good carrot cake can taste. I'm mostly into chocolate or vanilla, and so I was really pleased with the way this turned out. I hope that you enjoyed this super easy, quick recipe for carrot cake and cream cheese frosting. Don't forget to check out the blog post that accompanies this video, where you can find the complete recipe as well as more photos. You can find the link to that blog post in the description box below. And if you'd like to see what we're cooking on a daily basis, you can find me on my website at pepperandpine.com.